is 7:12 p.m. We'll call the Tuesday, December 4th, 2018 board meeting to order. And I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Okay, Trustee Bingham.
Present.
Trustee Duncan.
Here.
Trustee Brendan. Here. Trustee Martinson.
Here.
Trustee Mitchell.
Here.
And Trustee Saylor.
Here. Okay, before we rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, I just want to say about the flags are at half-staff now for 30 days for President George Herbert Walker Bush. In this day and age of political rancor on both sides of the aisle, in my humble opinion, he was one of the last presidents that we've had that not only talked the talk, but walked the walk. So our moment of silence after the Pledge of Allegiance will be in honor of President Bush, the 41st President of the United States. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Mitchell, second by Trustee Duncan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Jeff, I'm calling on you again. Public comment on agenda items.
I'm here to listen, thank you anyway, though.
Okay. All right, under the President's report, the only thing I want to mention is I called the police chief and the fire chief, and they are supposed to be here, but both had something they were requesting to not come for, and I said that's fine. And I think that's the Public Safety Committee with the two chiefs and the CERT Committee with Dell. I think the committee should make a motion or so we can rescind the policy that says that the chiefs always have to be here, because generally the chairman bring forward what the chiefs are going to be present anyway in committee. I just think that should be kicked around in the committees just to see. Dell already comes to your committee meeting and the chiefs go to the public safety meeting, but I just think it's their time's valuable with family, and if they don't have to be here, then they probably shouldn't be made to. However, they both understand, as does Mr. Stewart, that when their chairman or the administrator or the committee itself want them here, then their attendance would be mandatory. So if the chairman, Luann and Eric, could just talk about that in your next meeting, appreciate it. And then the only other thing, Chairman Martinson, is Chief Radke mentioned about his interest to move it back to a Tuesday. We used to have it the first Tuesday until the former chief had child care problems, I think, and we moved it. So he would like to, and Patrick, our chief under the fire department, also said that would work for him. And their main reason being is that they got a full month report to us instead of only till the end of the month and then starting from there for the next one. So, yes.
Chief Radke did call me this afternoon and had requested that we discuss that as well.
Okay.
He left me a message. I didn't get back to him, but I certainly will make sure that he knows we'll discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
So if your committee need committee permission to move it back to that day on the calendar.
We do need committee permission?
Pardon?
We do need committee permission?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, to move it.
Right.
So you guys could discuss it at your next meeting. Thank you. Okay, I've talked long enough. Always my pleasure, though, to call upon the president, chairman, whatever, of the Police and Fire Commission. So, Chairman Stewart, you are on.
Thank you. Just a few things to bring you up to date. One is the status of our entry-level police officer testing process. We had some disappointing results with regard to applications being submitted, far less than we had hoped. As a result of that and discussions with Interim Chief Radke, we have decided to postpone or delay that process. There may be a few causes as to why we're not getting the applicants we were hoping. One, as I think everyone knows, this is a national decline in the interest of being a police officer as a career. There may have been some influence locally with interest during our transition time period here. And to be blatantly honest with you folks, I also feel that Port Edward's slightly lower salary than those of communities around us may have an effect with interest in the position. It makes it a little tougher to compete. The good thing is, what we decided to do is delay that eligibility list testing process. We've notified those who have applied for the job of our decision to postpone it. Interim Chief Radke will continue recruiting activities and reassess this in a month or maybe two. The reality is we're very lucky to have a capable interim chief in place who's been able to staff the street with minimal overtime. We have current police employees who have come together as a team and are working hard to address any staffing concerns. So our concern is not high. We'll address this again and reassess in a month or two. Second thing I want to let you know about is Police and Fire Commission passed an amendment. We met last night. We passed an amendment to section 3.08 of our commission rules and procedures. That section has to do with hiring police officers. And what we did was, I think if you recall, we have a pretty stringent process in place in our regulations with regard to the testing procedure, written test, physical, agility, psych, medical, extensive background, interviews. And this is what we added to that phase. And let me just read it. We added a lateral transfer exception. And what that means is if we have a candidate who's interested in working part-time for Port Edwards, and that candidate is a current full-time police officer in good standing at a Wood or adjacent county police agency, or a candidate who is a police officer who retired and is in good standing, wishing to work part-time for Port Edwards. We have we've eliminated or exempted some of the processes of the testing procedure. We're still going to have them complete a very thorough background investigation, and I have a list of all the things we do in that investigation. And we're also going to have them complete an interview conducted by the Chief of Police and Police Fire Commission representatives. But for those that are full-time, other agencies that are interested in part-time work, we're going to exempt them from taking a physical agility test. We're going to exempt them from taking a written test, a psych evaluation, and a medical test. And here's I think here's the advantage for our village. And from what I understand, there may be several officers that fit this category and are interested in possibly working here. We could potentially get a 10 to 15 year full-time veteran experienced police officer who works for another town come over here. Our training of him is going to be considerably less. They work on the same computer system, dispatched by the same dispatch center. As Lon put it, for lack of better words, sometimes all we got to do is, give them a shirt, pants and belt and gear, and everything works the same. So we wanted to make sure that we complete this background investigation very thoroughly and also an interview, but we didn't think First of all, I can tell you, a 15-year cop doesn't want to come in and do a physical agility test, doesn't want to come in and do a written test. He knows what he's doing already. So this is the amendment and exemption that we passed last night, and I think it will be very helpful for the village with regard to part-time opening positions. We want full-time officers or even part-time officers. We're still going to go through the whole testing process, establish an eligibility list. But for lateral transfer, this is the procedure that we passed last night. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was my big concern when I heard this, but then in a brief conversation with you, you told me just what you said now, that when it comes to that full-time position, even if they are from within the county or next door, I'm glad to hear that they're going to go through all the hoops again,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The last thing I wanted to, there's a couple of extra questions I wanted to ask. With regard to the open police chief position, the commission has decided that it would be prudent for us to take our time in filling this position. We believe that we want to take a slow and deliberate process and get the right candidate to fill this open position. The good thing is, we're not in a crisis situation, and the reason for that is we have an interim police chief that has stepped up and taken some leadership and taken a hold of the department and provided some real leadership, some guidance, and we feel comfortable with Lon in that position at this point. Our goal for this position is going to be to start our search in spring and fill the position no later than summer. That is our plan. Finally, just as a side note, the commissioners have been talking, and they all feel very strongly that serving this community as a fireman or a policeman is an honor and a privilege. We also think that the community and members of this board appreciate the sacrifices these employees make in the name of their community service. In that spirit, the commission would like to, when appointing new employees, firemen, policemen, part-time, full-time, we would like to hold a public swearing-in ceremony, and we would like to do that at a village board meeting. In many cases, it's actually a very nice thing to do. In many cases, a loved one, such as the wife or husband or mother or father of the employee being appointed, pin the badge on the employee in front of the board and the public. The village clerk will perform an oath of office swearing in, and the board and the public will then have the opportunity to meet the employee, their family, hear the background of this employee, and spend some time with them. We would ask for your support in this procedure.
Awesome.
That's all I have. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to.
Any comments on your minutes from November 15th?
No.
Okay.
Any comments?
Anybody else? Police and Fire Commission?
Just for information, our next meeting is first Monday in the month. It'll be 1/7 at 6:30.
Already had that down.
Okay. Anything else from anything I can answer? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Stewart. Okay, I forgot the Airport Commission in my excitement to get to the police and fire, see what they're up to. Did anybody have any questions on November 1st, November 15th, 2018, Alexander Field minutes? Okay, that takes care of that. Also, Jeremy will be here in January, and that'll start a quarterly update on the airport. It'll be be January, then probably April, and continuing on. Alrighty, Chairman Saylor, CERC Committee, please.
We had a meeting on November 20th. Does anybody have any questions on any of the minutes? Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? Any questions? We've got a couple motions. We had a lengthy discussion and presentation by both Mayor Burbank from the Wisconsin Rapids area and MSA. So I would like to make a motion to adopt a plan for the 2,500 square foot kidney shaped splash pad with the unique features as recommended by MSA and Vortex.
Motion from Chairman Saylor and second by Trustee Mitchell to adopt the plan for the 2,500 square foot kidney shaped splash pad with unique features as recommended by MSA and Vortex. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Hearing no request to speak, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I just had a
Oh, I'm
question
sorry.
about, that's all right. The conversation with Mayor Verwink, was that about the potential with pool relationships? And how did that pan out in a nutshell?
He gave a presentation and he had good information, and I think what it comes down to is the money that is set aside for the splash pad is the Legacy Foundation's money, and they are choosing to use that for splash pads.
So like the Legacy Foundation was approached, is that?
Mr. Movie
Oh,
was there.
okay,
yeah.
okay, got it. Thanks, Eric.
Anything else? I did not mean to cut you off.
That's all right.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Oh, okay. 5-0 opposed, abstention by Trustee Bingham. And Eric, I want to thank you. It's been a long journey for you, over 2 years from the previous board through now, and we all kind of changed different things about it, and, you know, and the locations and whatever, and I just think down here it's going to be a big hit with the amenities that are around here already. So, Mike, thank you also for your help. Okay, sorry to take your thunder, Eric.
The last thing is, we've been approached to maybe reestablishing the skating pond on Ripple. And we had a discussion with that and with Dell and with Mike, and it's feasible. So, yeah. So I make a motion to have the village crew prepare the ice for Ripple Creek for skating.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Saylor, second by Trustee Bingham to have the village crew prepare the ice at Ripple Creek Park for skating. Any discussion? Yes, Lynn.
I have a question. Is the pond will be open, but then will there be somebody there to man the warming house, or is it just going to be that the pond is actually open for the general public to use?
That is what's currently on the floor right now, is to have the pond ready. We had some discussion on the warming house, and we're gonna kind of see how the interest is with the actual ice before we make decisions on that.
Okay, so there's not set hours
Nope, there's not, well, it'll be,
for the public to,
if it's like if it's like when I grew up, you know, the lights were on and it's just unmanned. We have had some interest in the warming house and stuff like that, but we're just kind of just trying to get it going because we're behind the 8 ball if the kids want to use it. So we're kind of taking it day by day right now.
I think it's a good idea. I hope that the residents and the kids of Port Edwards
Utilize it.
utilize it.
Because if there is no utilization, it'll be, you know, we won't have this discussion next year.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, how'd they find the lights and equipment? And I heard there was something about the brush on the tractor that would almost acted like a Zamboni when they'd sweep it. The ice with that brush.
Yeah, I think they explored taking a look with some equipment from the school, and I think there's they gotta test something out with, because it's a straight brush, not an angle brush or something, so they're taking a look at that as an option, but really in addition to flooding the pond and making for ice, there's clearing the pond when there's snow and then smoothing it out using a brush. And this brush may or may not work, so we're gonna try that out. But if we're gonna continue to have the skating pond, we'd really wanna have a good brush out there. And the lights turn on and off at a certain time
Brush with the Bobcat.
with the lawnmower.
You don't want to put a Bobcat on there, somebody will go through.
Okay.
In speaking to the supervisor of the DPW, he told me that one of the 4 lights is non-functioning. So maybe during the summer, the CERT committee can look at the possibility of, I think it's time to get the old lamps off there and get some LEDs up there. Cheaper and,
And I would not be opposed to that if the interest is there.
correct. That's all.
We don't wanna stick a lot of money into it if the interest is not there.
I agree.
30 years ago, I know the interest was there.
Okay, any discussion? No? All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Anything else, Eric?
Nope, meeting adjourned at 7:23, and that's all I had.
Okay. Pit committee.
Everyone's had a chance to review the minutes. Any questions? Hearing none, then we have one motion to bring before the board. Motion to approve the resolution changing the R3L waterfront setback from 75 feet to 25 feet. I will so move.
Second. Motion by Chairman Duncan, second by Trustee Bingham to approve the resolution changing the R3L waterfront setback from 75 feet to 25 feet.
It just brings consistency with what's the practice has been previously and allows better development in certain areas along the riverfront.
Okay.
It's not anything major.
Questions?
So does that mean individual addresses like in the past, when they come and ask for this, we won't have to do that anymore in this zone?
Correct.
Everything is just.
Yep, everything will be fine, so. All right.
Okay, no request to speak. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion. Fine, go ahead.
It's a go.
Good. I have
Uh,
nothing further, so.
Thanks, Dana. Okay. A very full docket for Finance and Human Resource Committee.
Public
Chair-
safety is first.
Did I miss that again?
Yep.
Oh, I got the chairman right. Luann, anything on public safety?
Yes, Public Safety met on November 29th. We did have Officer Radke bring in the individuals that are currently working part-time for the Village of Port Edwards, police officers, and introduce them to us. And we were happy to have that opportunity because some of us had never met them and didn't know them. And I think that with what we were earlier told by the Police and Fire Commission, we're going to be having those opportunities prior to an individual actually starting to take their position. And I think that's a great idea. Officer Radke was very excited about the training that's going to be taking place. They've got some opportunities. The Family Center had called, and they're going to be doing some training of our officers, and it definitely is something that is needed, and it's going to be a good payoff for the community. Anything that the individuals that are working for us can learn, they certainly, and whatever they bring to the table from those training sessions is a plus for all of us. Other than that, I do want to make a motion, and I see that it is not, excuse me, there isn't a motion, I'm sorry. We're good to go. The meeting adjourned at 7:25 PM.
Okay, Now I think I'll be correcting, we'll go to Finance and Human Resources. Chairman Martinson.
Finance and Human Resources met on November 29th. And I would like, at this time, did everybody have a chance to read the minutes? Any questions regarding the minutes? At this time, I would like to make a motion to approve payment of the bills.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Martinson, second by Trustee Bingham to approve payment of the bills. Discussion? Hearing no request, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd also like to make a motion to approve the journal entries of the previous month.
Motion. Okay, thanks, Sue. Motion by Chairman Martinson, second by Trustee Mitchell to approve the journal entries of the previous month. Discussion? Hearing no request to speak, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I would like to make a motion to adopt the village and the police labor summary, labor policies for 2019.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Martinson, second by Trustee Duncan to adopt the village and police labor policies for 2019. Discussion. Trustee Bingham.
With my apologies to Chairperson Martinson, I should probably know the answer to my question since I served on the committee last year. Was there discussion on going to PTO versus vacation, sick leave, funeral leave, etc.?
Not at any current
Okay.
meetings, there wasn't. No.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious.
It had been discussed last year
Is that-
prior
that's
to the
right.
budget,
Okay,
but there was nothing brought forward again
okay.
at this last
I mean,
budget.
is there any desire to look at that in the future? Or,
It certainly isn't something that we can't review.
right, okay. I was just curious.
Changing that to PTO rather than, as you stated.
All these
vacation.
different categories, which,
A lot of businesses and municipalities
yeah.
and cities are doing that.
Yeah.
We certainly can discuss that.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know that.
Okay,
Maybe,
thank you.
you know,
I was just curious if there was any discussion regarding
One of
that.
the first things I did when I was on the school board, because in this day and age, you can't determine what family is anymore for bereavement.
Mhm. It's hard, yeah, yes, it is.
You know, mom's new husband, is that bereavement? It's not your father, but, you know, that type of thing. So that's why you go that route. So.
Anybody else?
I got a question.
Sue?
Does this include the amendment that Scott just talked about?
Actually, no, that amendment is
Separate?
separate, but there will be an amendment before I'm done here.
Okay.
That's what I have a question.
That's what I was wondering.
So with the labor policy that I got and then what we approved at the meeting,
It-
this is PD, no, this is village.
No, village.
Yeah. The cashier typist, I thought it was 2% across the board. And now the newest labor policy I got, it's got that going up by 12.5%.
And I am going to make an amendment, a motion for an amendment after this motion is approved.
Can I ask why it would be?
Should we wait until I make that motion before we did have that discussion, maybe?
Well, I don't want to approve the village policy without question. I mean, I don't know the proper protocol.
Okay. I was told to make the motion to approve it and then make a second motion that we would amend it.
Mike?
No,
But-
backwards.
The protocol is to, someone would make a motion to move to amend the motion. So
Yep.
you're not approving a motion and then.
And if the amendment passes, then the original motion is not voted on.
Yeah, so someone would need to make a motion to.
Amend it.
Amend it, and so it's like a two-part motion, if that makes sense. So you have to have kind of,
It's two parts. If the amendment fails, then you go back to the original.
yes.
So with that being said,
Yes, you are right.
okay. So now I will make a motion to
Can I
amend.
finish? I just have a couple more things.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my complaint with that is you know, I was looking at it, and I know that there's people that want to push, because that's the grade one starting wage, and I understand that. But in fairness of the guys that work in the Public Works Department, I was looking back at all the old labor policies that have gone up and comparing numbers and stuff like that. So since 2013, till now, till the present, if it gets approved in labor policy, the laborers' wages have gone up 12%. The cashier position, and nothing against the cashier position, but just as a position as a whole, if it gets passed tonight, will have gone up 28%. So I'm just trying to understand why that position should be as a grade one. And I know, Joe, that I've been pushing for this for a long time.
And it's because, if I may, thank you, Madam Chairman. It's, I don't know, this might not sound right, but I certainly don't mean it against the DPW crew. They're not easier to replace, but when they're on a vacation week, the supervisor has other people that can jump in, know how to do the exact same job. We're here, if Kim is gone, then it's a double whammy for Diane, and a lot of times when Diane's gone, then Kim picks up a lot of the clerk duty too. And I just had a hard time forever, as you know, as to why that position, I should stop using names, is considered to be of lower importance. We hire a new person on the village crew, they're learning a lot about the job and stuff, but a lot of what happens over there in that paperwork ends up coming back to the office. And I think that position should be, for here and ever, unless another board changes it, tied into grade one. Will it go up to grade 2, grade 3, grade 4? No. And it will be worded that will be, and then next year if they go up 1%, then that goes up 1%. And we kind of did that in a reverse fashion with we got rid of the foreman's position and made it the supervisor of public works. That was quite a substantial raise there. So that's my feelings. Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to state that I feel that that position, as stated as a cashier / typist position, is more of an administrative assistant position with the duties that are being done in that position. I also feel that that individual is the first person, probably 90% of the time, that the public is speaking with when they make that phone call to the village. And I think that whatever she portrays to any resident or anybody calling is important, and I think that the professionalism has to be recognized, as well as the extra things that she does.
And I agree with you on that. It's just these are the conversations that should happen in committee and not on a board meeting night. So we can freely discuss it.
I do apologize. It should have been discussed at the committee meeting, but
It was discussed at FHR to a
2%
certain degree.
across the board is what was discussed.
But in the early stages of the budget thing, I had made mention to the committee, my desire is $2.10. That is a hike, I will admit it. But I think in the past years, when I was chief of police and being on the board, it went up 50%, and that was it. And she's also the administrative assistant. She does work for Mike. She is the court clerk. She has a lot of statutory authority there, or not authority, duties, responsibilities. And then secretary, cashier, and now she has the added responsibility of, she's the official recorder of the minutes and posting of them for police and fire. So that's all I got to say.
I just want to state that I take full responsibility for the fact that it wasn't brought up specifically at the last FHR meeting and discussed. I apologize. John.
I would I would add she's also, among other things, a public records custodian, which is significant. I think two things. One is just a clarification in my mind, and whoever can answer that, Luann. So, based on what Eric said, the 28% was just to catch her up to a level 1.
Yes.
Okay, so all good. That's what I thought. And then secondly, I would suggest in the future that maybe the committee look at retitling that position. Cashier, whatever, like, sounds like somebody that makes change at McDonald's.
Cashier typist is
Yeah,
quite helpful.
it's we all know,
1950s.
this board knows that's not what it is, but it doesn't give what you've described, and it's ever Joe's described, and I agree with everything that's said, that it's a more significant position, especially in a two-person office as a support team. So maybe that's something down the road the committee could take a look at.
Absolutely.
But I support that, what Joe said and what you're suggesting.
I'll just make one more comment, then I'll be done. I'll shut up. So, as far as salary, we're always looking to pinch pennies. We can't get a new chipper, or we're choosing not to get a chipper because we're cutting $20,000, or we're cutting an amount from a budget to buy equipment for stuff that the staff may or may not need. With salaries, we've added police and fire commission salaries, we've added these salaries, the DPW got a big jump, everybody got raises. It's not like we can cut salaries. We can cut a chipper, but if we add ourselves, I have no problem bumping the wage, but she got a big bump. That position got a big bump a couple years ago. Now they're getting another 12% increase. I understand that they'll be on mine with the same as a grade 1, but we'll never be able to go down. It's like taxes, kind of. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Madam Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry.
the big bump of a couple of years ago was when the board agreed to pay back pay for when she was put on leave that time. That's where that big bump came from. And the board at that time thought that that was due her.
I don't think that was back pay, I think. We're just talking, if I just go from the labor policies, there's nothing about, that position, it goes up $1.50 every year, $1. That's just my opinion, so.
Well, we value you.
Appreciate the questions. I guess when I look at that, I look at what's happening. Walmart's at they're $11, they're begging for people. Culver's, way above that, plus benefits. Aurora Health System, $15 an hour guaranteed across the board for everybody. And that's happening, everybody's increasing. Is that good or bad? Well, comes back to Scott. We're competing for police officers. We're competing for office staff. We're competing for public works people. And typically, and I don't know if this works out this way, 80% of a budget, probably not 80% of this one because we have capital improvements, but still, I bet it's close to 80% is personnel. And when you look at salaries, that's our most important thing in my mind, is that we have good people in the, we might not be able to get that brusher, but if we don't have the people to run it. So I hear what you're saying, but we're competing. We're not just competing within Port Edwards, we're competing within central Wisconsin for people. And I think when you have good people and positions like that, you need to make sure you keep them. So I support what's happening in that position based on what I hear. I understand what you're saying. I really do, Eric, and I think they're good questions. But I think we're in a position where we have to do that and should do it.
Can I just
It's still your committee,
say one
ma'am.
more? And then I will be quiet. I also feel that with what we expect of the two individuals in the office staff, I'm talking outside of the administrator, we could very easily be looking at hiring a third person if we needed that. It certainly is far better, in my opinion, to give the individuals that are doing the job the wage that we feel we can afford, because we're not paying another benefit package to a third individual. You know, we've got two people who, when one wants to be on vacation, the other one has to be there. Am I correct, Diane? And that doesn't always work real easily. I know that for a fact. I've been that person. And there are times when an individual has to give things up because just something might come out of the ordinary, perhaps a funeral or something that an individual has to attend, and the other person maybe had plans to be gone. And I think we have to kind of look at all of those reasons and make this decision based on a number of reasons, not just one or two. And that's all I have. Thank you. Okay? So back to motion. I would like to make a motion to amend the motion and to delete number 2D of police labor policy, which states part-time probationary police officer at $13.02 per hour. And the reason for that is because
Madam Chair, can we make a motion on the original? And if so, by who?
I made the motion on the original.
To adopt the labor policy.
Yes, to approve the,
And who seconded that?
Dana.
Okay, all right. Continue with the amendment.
okay. There's just, the reason I'm making that amendment is because it conflicts with the other part of the agreement, that the new wages for the part-time officers are going, the new spread between the part-time officers is changing. So we need to actually remove that 1302. And the other motion is to amend the motion to increase the cashier/typist salary to equal the Public Works grade 1 wage.
It's either one motion or it's,
Can amend it,
you can't have two amendments going on
Right.
at the same time.
yeah.
You either have to amend it one time for both, or it's move once, then approve, or disapprove, then amend again.
Right.
Or disapprove.
So one amendment including both.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Vice President.
That's fine, just trying to use my Roberts.
He's probably your brother. Is that the amendment, okay?
Are we going to separate the amendments, or is that motion?
It's
To
one
adopt the policies with those
amendment.
We're going to
Yeah.
vote on the amendment first, so if you could read that back, please.
This is what I'm thinking. Okay, motion to adopt the village and police labor policies for 2019 with the changes of deleting 2D of the police labor policy
No.
and to increase the...
No, it's, the motion is to amend the labor policy on those two grounds. Then we have to vote on that, then once it's amended, then we vote on the policy itself.
So
Would have been
motion to-
easier if we'd have had this fixed before we brought it to the board.
So motion to amend the draft of the labor policy to delete 2D of police labor policy and to increase the cashier type of salary to a grade 1 labor rate.
Yes.
Before we proceed, Mr. Vice President, why don't you state the motion as you see it, the whole thing? The amended motion.
Well, we're amending to, or moving to amend the motion on the floor that we would delete 2D of the labor policy or police labor policies and move to, and amend the motion to increase the cashier typist salary to equal the Public Works grade 1 wage.
Is that
So that was the motion, and I'll
You
second
second
to
it?
get it on the floor.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Martenson, second by Trustee Duncan. Discussion on the amended motion. Oh, you were second. Discussion. Hearing no request to speak, all those in favor of the amended motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
It's 5-1.
No more cookies for you.
Now, then we go to the original motion, now amended.
And the original amended motion, Madam Clerk, would read,
I'm not sure what, motion to adopt the amended, or the village and police labor policies for 2019 as amended.
as amended. Is that your motion, ma'am?
Yes.
Second.
It's already been motion.
Oh, Heather, sorry.
So we
The,
now just call the question.
we are to adopt the amended village and police labor policies for 2019 as amended.
Thank you.
Motion by Chairman Martenson, second by Trustee Duncan. Discussion. Hearing no request to speak. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. And I'll state the reason is that I don't like the whole way this was presented tonight.
Pardon?
I don't like the way this whole thing was presented tonight. I'm bringing it in and amending it and all this, it was extremely confusing, and I'm just, so, nay.
Okay, 4-2. Moving on.
Okay. Motion to approve the 2019 water utility budget as presented.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Martenson, second by Trustee Mitchell, I'm sorry, Sue, to approve the 2019 water utility budget as presented. Hopefully you got to read it. Discussion. Hearing no request to speak, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2019 wastewater utility budget as presented.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Martenson, second by Trustee Duncan, to approve the 2019 wastewater utility budget as presented. Discussion. Hearing no request to speak, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And lastly, I'll make a motion to approve the 2019 village budget and set the levy as recommended at the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Chairman Martenson, second by Trustee Duncan, to approve the 2019 village budget and set the levy as recommended at the public hearing. Any
Motion for
dis-
division.
Explain.
I want everybody to vote individually on record.
Roll call, okay. We will have a individual vote on this. Discussion on the motion itself, the budget and the levy limit. Any discussion? Okay, hearing no request to speak, clerk will call the roll.
Okay, Trustee Bingham?
Aye.
Trustee Duncan?
Aye.
Trustee Brendan? Aye. Trustee Martenson?
Aye.
Trustee Mitchell?
Aye.
And Trustee Slater?
And that passes 5-1. Okay, unfinished business from previous meetings. I have nothing.
I'll just back it up.
Did you have something?
A second.
What did I cut off now?
Did you already say that?
Yeah.
Can I just
Yeah,
add one thing?
yeah.
I just want to say that I apologize that I realized this was a mess, but there were many factors that came into play, and we tried to do the best we could at the last minute. And the meeting was adjourned at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Unfinished business from other
6:01.
meetings. New business, I have neither. Report from village administrator.
Tonight, I think around 5:30, the Business Council helped to organize a very nice Christmas event in downtown at the shopping center. So they did a wonderful job with that. I'd like to thank them. I'd also like to thank our Public Works crew who put up the Christmas lights on the trees, all that. They did a great job. Jeff in the audience, thank you. So if you haven't had a chance to get down to downtown and see the decorations, please do.
Thank you, Michael. Report from clerk treasurer.
I'd like to ask for a motion to authorize the clerk to pay all routine bills that come in through December.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chairman Martenson, second by Trustee Duncan, to authorize the clerk to pay all routine bills that come in through December. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any trustee comments on any items? Includes the PFC chair.
I just have one,
Yep.
just for the public, okay? Friday, the federal government will approve its funding at midnight and will be shut down unless Congress either passes a budget, which they haven't managed to do in 9 years, or pass a continuing resolution. Whereas, even though there was some disagreement, we passed a budget. So government does work when people want it to, and they're willing to cooperate with each other. So just my comment.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? No? Get your pens out. Meetings of the Port Edwards Village Board for December 5th, 2018 through January 8th, 2019. Streets, Infrastructure, Recreation, Cemetery Committee will meet on Tuesday, December 11th at 5 p.m. in the Municipal Building. The Property Planning Information Technology Committee will meet on Tuesday, December 18th at 5 p.m. in the Municipal Building. The Port Edwards Public Safety Committee will meet on Thursday, December 20th, 2018 at 5 o'clock p.m. in the Municipal Building. The Finance and Human Resource Committee will meet on Thursday, January 3rd, 2019 at 5 p.m. in the Municipal Building. The Police and Fire Commission will meet on Monday, January 7th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in the Municipal Building. And the Port Edwards Village Board's next meeting will be on Tuesday, January 8th, 2019 at 7 p.m. right here at Edwards Alexander. Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Oh, okay. Motion by Mitchell, second by Bingham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you, sir.